Alright guys, welcome to another YouTube video. Today I'll take you through my second pool day. Just had my pre-workout in. The reason why I am starting my workout series with this workout is because my posterior and my hamstring has always been a weakness of mine, and it's something I genuinely have found a lot harder to develop over my last 5-6 years of training, especially the last 2-3 years of where I focused a lot more on taking my training to the next level to really start my bodybuilding career. And this workout is one that I thoroughly enjoy because it starts with one of my favorite but most hated exercise, which is the Romanian deadlift. Then I move on to, the more isolation work, such as the D-handle pull downs, the lat pull downs, and the rows. But this session ultimately is determined usually from the RDL. And the reason why I like to start with the RDL is because I've done many different approaches where I fatigue the muscle before executing it, or before doing the compound lift. But to get the best bang out of buck from an RDL movement, or to be able to produce as much intensity and progressively overload each week on such a movement that takes a lot of energy, I rather just start the movement where I want to prioritize. And in order for me to ensure that when I step on stage next year, I bring the best posterior chain package, the RDL is realistically the movement that I will really need to get very, very good at. Trying to show you guys what I've been struggling with over the last couple of years, and showing how I am trying my best to overcome the hurdle of building a more dense back and more thickness in my posterior chain will hopefully give you some tips and leave you with some pointers on what you can do in your pool day to ensure that you'll be able to also build a thicker back, because who doesn't want a wider back? And tingling, baby! Before going straight into the Romanian deadlift for such a big compound movement, it's important to warm your whole body up to prevent any injuries. Just done some knee raises, some leg raises, some planks, some glute bridges, just so that the whole body is warmed up. If you're doing RDL slightly later on in your workout, then fair enough. You probably don't need to do these warm-ups, but starting with an RDL, make sure you warm up. Take your time when you're warming up on the RDL. When you're doing your warm-ups, don't do too many reps. Doing 10-15 reps on your heavyweight, you're gonna be taking it off your main top set. So for me, the most important thing is the top set. So I'm doing everything I essentially can in my own power to be as prepared for that top set. So that means doing as little volume, enough just to feel ready. One tip when it comes to doing the Romanian deadlifts is don't take too many steps back. When I used to do this exercise, flick it up, take 5 steps back. Every step you move backward is energy that you could be executing into the set. So just a small step's enough. Oh yeah! One tip when it comes to doing your top set, I know a lot of people like to film their top set for the gram, and that's great, but in order to identify whether you're doing well in the top set, your pre-top set or your last warm-up set should be filmed too, just so that you can have that final look to ensure that your execution's good. And then when you bring that execution to the top set, you know that you're able to execute with good intensity, but in your top set, if that makes sense. Yeah. Oh. 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 Nice. Oh, that was good. That was my top working set. That is that set that I really aim to give 125, 100,000%. And I'm actually quite happy being able to match 140 kg, 5 reps, keeping my legs as straight as possible. And now we got a back off set. Usually I go for, as I said, 10 to 15 reps, but today what I'll do is I'll add a pause at the bottom and hold the hardest position of the RDL. So just here, just under the knee at the bottom at the maximum stretch. And I aim to pause there for 2 seconds each rep. So I'll aim to go for 8 to 12 reps. And these are the sets too that although I won't be able to match the number of reps, the fact that I add a pause in at the hardest point of the movement, when I come back to do this set, repping it out, I'm more likely able to push this and do more reps just because I am working on the hardest part of the movement, which is the maximum stretch. Get a bench. I don't know if you have this same OCD thing that in Buzz Gym, they've got 2 different sort of benches. If you're a Buzz Gym, there are 2 sorts of benches, Hammer Strength and the Live Fitness one. Live Fitness is owned by Hammer Strength, essentially the cheaper option. So just pick the Hammer Strength one if you're here. We've got the D handle pull down, probably the best lat exercise you can do in a gym. If you don't feel your lats on a lat pull down, go for the D handle pull down. Most gyms have a cable machine, most gyms have the benches. You can do this without a bench, but the bench just gives you the stability that allows you to drive more weight. But in other words, stimulate the lats slightly more and not worry about the stability and just think on isolating the lats, which is exactly what we want here. About 3 sets, working for 8 to 12 reps. Ensure that your form is absolutely perfect here. With something like the D handle pull down, don't worry about progressively overloading each week, because if you are overloading, let's say 10, 15 kg each week, most likely either you didn't train hard the last week or you're just using some momentum. It's so easy to go heavier, so easy to use some momentum, but make sure you keep this nice and strict, nice and good so that you are just working the lats, which is exactly what we want here. Okay, one more thing when it comes to when you're swapping lats, swapping hands, make sure you take some rest in between each set. More, often I always see someone just goes from right arm straight into their left arm. So you're gonna feel like, you're exhausted, you're gonna train your heart, but you're essentially doing cardio if you're just swapping arms. Take some time. If you're training with a training partner, go for your right arm, right lat, get your training partner to do the right side, take a minute to 2 off, then only go for your left side, just so that, like cardiovascularly you are not feeling exhausted and you're able to train till muscular failure and not cardiovascular failure. Remember, when it comes to progressively overloading, it doesn't only mean upping the weights each week, improving the form, doing more reps on the same weight, increasing, the eccentrics, the length in your eccentrics, essentially, where you build more or you can get more hypertrophy, is still considered progressively overloading. Because at the end of the day, we are not powerlifters. Well, we're bodybuilders, and all I care about is how much I'm building the bricks and the blocks of every single muscle group. Dumbbell row, let's go. Just go do 1 set here, and then 1 more pulling exercise, and then we'll do some biceps and rear delts. One quality set is better than doing 5, 10 sets without any intensity. People say this all the time, like, how do you train so hard? How do you have the motivation to train this hard? I know intensity comes with time. It comes to filming your sets, understanding where you need to improve, and just trying to improve baby steps each week, months and months, years and years, until you get so comfortable with the movement that you're able to train that movement and train it hard. And that's why changing exercises ever so often, probably not ideal for most people. When I first started training, I changed my program every week, and that's fine. You can still progress if you're still bringing the intensity, but what I did lack was proper execution for each exercise. So if you're able to do that, then you'll be really able to bring more intensity within that exercise, and that will cause more growth. This final back exercise, we're gonna do a 3 seconds pause at the back, so at the contraction. That should help with mind to muscle. Instead of using a V-bar, which will limit your range of motion because of how small it is. If you've got a wider bar, around shoulder width, that would be perfect, but they don't have that here. But they've got this cable machine, which is essentially shoulder width. So that will allow for a good squeeze, a good stretch, and a solid range of motion. Couple of partials at the end, just to train past failure. Sometimes good for some exercises where it's safe. Not something like the RDLs, where you get a lot of lower back, but something like this, a few more extra partial reps, not gonna get you injured, so get it done. Just remember this when my first 3-4 years of training, it's just in a commercial, the gym group, and it's so important to have such a good environment, but that doesn't mean you can't progress in a commercial gym, because if you can still get into the zone, get your music on, focus on progressively overloading, focus on improving each exercise, you can still progress in any environment. So don't let your environment determine your progress. Let your mindset and your determination determine your progress. To some biceps work, we're gonna start with some rope hammer curls. Nothing special, just gonna train through it and smash it out. As many reps as possible. Train it hard, that's it. No, rear delts are quite pumped. All right, rear delts now, last exercise. Go into all your isolation movements. On your rear delt fly, your hammer curls, your bicep curls, your pulling movements, just with the same mindset as you're going into your RDL. Training hard isn't about only training in those compound movements, but it's training out throughout the workout. A lot of the time, you see people at the end of the workout just on their phones, and if you can bring the intensity in all muscle groups, your arms will be so, so good. Once your rear delt fly fails, straight into a face pull. It's probably my favorite superset for the rear delts. All right guys, that is the pool workout done, and it was a very productive session, and I genuinely enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something out of it, enjoyed it, and this is just a raw workout edition, and there's many more to come. So stay safe, stay fit, and remember, nobody cares, work harder. Peace out.